Hello, how's everybody? I hope everybody's doing well. Today we're going to do um, the flowers in watercolor, but according to the rule of thirds. So I spoke about this in the last couple of weeks, and um, this is an opportunity to see it on a video. Okay, so um, this time I will use a ruler, but I have taught you how to use the pencil to measure and fold the paper. You could fold the paper also in three parts. This is watercolor paper, so it's a little thicker, 6 by 9. This used to be a 12 by 9 sheet, but I cut it in half. Okay, so I need it in this shot. Um, okay, we need pencil to draw, um, the brush, the watercolors, the paper. Always the paper. You got to make sure you have the right paper that can absorb all that water. So the paper is key. I'm going to use this to activate my colors, spraying some water, but you can also use the brush by dipping a drop of water on each color. I do have also on the side a piece of paper, regular paper, that I'm going to use to sketch or draw what I'm later going to draw here. So you're going to see me pulling this back in and making a drawing. You should have your own too, regular paper. That way you're confident of what you're going to do on your actual surface, paper surface. All right, let's get started. So this is, like I said, 6 by 9. You got to think of your surface. So if it was bigger, the measurements are bigger. If it wasn't a rectangle and it was a square, then when I fold it in three times, then the proportions will be different. Okay, so folding it three times, you got to make sure that it folds three times. One, two, three. But I don't want, you see it already. This is very thick paper and you don't want to get those bends. So I'm going to use the paper. Sorry, I'm going to use the ruler. And let's make sure that it is 6 by 9. And it is 6. 6 by 9. So I'm going to divide that by 3. So it will be every 3 inches I make a mark. And that allows me to have the paper divided 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I matched these points. I did it twice, so I made the points twice, here and here. So then the line, once I line this line here, you see? Let's verify this. It's a little lower, but it's okay. So 1, 2, 3 sections. We're also going to split it in 3 on the side, so up and down, and on the side 3 times. So this is 6. So every 2 inches, I make a little mark. on the number 2 and on the number 4. If I draw these lines, then I'm going to get 9 squares, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares, but 4 points intersecting lines. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. So, final ruler. Like I said, we've done this by folding the paper, or we've done it by estimating, you know. You'll see this where these points fall, and if you could estimate around that area, you could also do that. It doesn't have to be 100% exact, but it cannot be too random either, you know. You see, I'm matching the 2 points I made. And now we have our 9 squares. Okay. 9 squares. So basically these 4 points, I'm going to make them dark. 1, 2, 3, 4 are the points where the lines intersect. So this is what the rule of thirds says. It's just basically for proportion, not proportion, for balance when you compose your work. You know, when you put things on your work, it could be a photograph, it could be a drawing. So instead of putting things right in the middle, right, or only to one side, because then you leave a gap on the other. If that's the effect you want, sure. But to balance things around, if you put things on these dots, you know, where the dots are, you cannot, you're pretty sure scientifically that our eyes will find that pleasant and attractive. So putting something here, 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 or here, right, will work. Or inside the squares, okay? Inside the squares. But try to avoid the middle if you can, right? Because that's the whole point of this rule. When you go to your phone, I have shown you this before, and you go to your camera on settings and you activate your grid. This is what your phone shows. It shows your grid just like this one. And when you're gonna take the picture, you can align people or things in these points, either on the squares or the dots. So basically, your iPhone or camera has the rule of thirds included in it for visual artwork. So, and again, this is based on these paper measurements. If I had a square and I divide it in 9 squares, it's gonna be smaller. Something interesting is that this proportion of the entire um, piece is the same proportion ratio of these small rectangles. Okay, just keep that in mind. So, you know, meaning the ratio from 6 to 9, which will be 3, sorry, will be 2, 3. So 6, 9 is the same thing as saying 3, 2, right? 3, 3 of 3, yes, sure. But 2 of 3. So if these are 3 inches, these are 2 3 inches. So that's the ratio in these rectangles too. This is 3 parts to 2. Okay, I don't want to confuse you, but that's very interesting and good to know because that's why the rule works. Okay, because visually, when we look at it, and whatever we highlight or draw or photograph is in these areas, that's why it works for our eye because proportionally everything is aligned. Okay, so eventually we're going to erase these lines. We don't want to see them. Okay, but we're going to draw our flowers into these spots. And I know we did this in person, but I wanted it on video. Um, and the size of the flowers are very important. If we do them very small, we're going to have to add more flowers maybe because the space, then you have more space open. Okay. In the picture, if there's too small, um, will look that it needs a little extra, I don't know, to make it interesting. Extra flowers. So we're gonna put one here. I'm gonna make a circle. That's where our flower is gonna be. Okay. This is random. Not random, but we're choosing right now. So one here. Why don't we put one here? You see the size of it, maybe bigger. One, two. Why don't we put one inside this circle? One, two, three. Four inside this circle. Five here. I'm gonna do seven this time. Five will be okay. Why don't we do another one in this point? One, two, three, four, five, six. And then the seventh here. I'm leaving this open, right? Because it's okay to leave some opening, so I'm leaving that open. And remember down here that we're gonna have the stems coming down. So now we know where they are, right? You could also use the lines. The lines can be used also to put the horizon. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna draw the horizon, but you could do that, placing the horizon. So I did seven. Seven is a good number. Let's do the stems coming from maybe down, obviously, but more towards the right. If you need to erase these lines, you could erase them now. Let's erase the lines because now you know the lines of the rule. Now you know exactly what you meant by the dots. And please remember where those dots were, even if they're erased. Remember where the dots interjected, the lines intersected, sorry, and made those dots. Okay, so now we know it's here, here, here and here. So one stem comes down here, one stem comes down here. You see? Can you do that with me? Kind of bring them towards the right, a little curvy too. So this one may go straight, why not? In the line. This one can come down like this. This one can go by this line. Sorry, this dot. Remember this point? This one can come down. Actually, it goes through the point of the rule here, but behind a little bit of these flowers. So let's see. You see, it went into this point. 1, 2, 3, and there's a point here. The stem went through that point, but I brought it down here. I don't like much how this one comes straight up. But this is the process of composing, so you could erase. I'm going to erase all of this to move them a little bit to the left. You'll see. Wow. So this goes maybe like this. This one moves a little more closer here. And this one moves a little bit to one of the sides. And it's okay because there'll be leaves on them, okay? So there'll be leaves like this that we're gonna do with the green and the brush. Okay? Maybe open those circles a little more, maybe lightly, very lightly. Because there's gonna be a color around all that, you'll see. You see I'm making my circles bigger. Okay. And now let's draw our flower like a daisy from the center. See? So you got the circle. And you draw your daisy from the center. You see? The center. Do that to all of them. Maybe about 9 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 8. 8 or 9. That's 8. Because there should be actually 9. Because there's an emptiness here. 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 8, and 9. You gotta do it to all of them from the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I'm gonna start. I'm not gonna erase anything, and I'm gonna start. We're gonna start painting now with the yellow, and yellow is very strong, so I'm gonna use just a little around the, on the circle of the flower. So if you notice, I put the color down and I grab my water to kind of diffuse all that yellow that is very strong. It's very, very strong, which is okay. Because with water, then I dilute the little amount of color that I put in, rather than keep putting more color. See, it kind of got spread out. The water will make it diffuse a little, and it's gonna mix a little with the pencil. It's okay, so it's gonna get a little maybe dirty, but you see how it looks around the around the flower. You see the rich pigment I have in my brush? I'm spreading it, and then with the water I'm gonna dilute it a little more. See? Spread it. Even if your brush gets dry, when you make those circles around it, you're spreading that yellow. You see? All of them are gonna have that. See, now with the water, I make sure the pigment goes everywhere I want it to go. A little bit of more pigment to emphasize some of the areas, you see. It's like a light. Okay. So these are just random flowers, but at the same time, when we look at them in this paper, right, the position they're in is key. Okay, so while the yellow dries a little, because if we paint our flower petals right now, the yellow um, will mix more. Eventually, later it will mix a little, but right now it will mix more because it's we gotta let it dry a little. So why don't we do our green? And I'm not gonna clean the brush that much because green has yellow, but um, we'll do our green in different um, tones, you know. Um, so let's do these lines. Careful when you mix colors like this and this because you see how I just grabbed here some red. You gotta be really careful your colors, what is touching. Um, so I'll do this one first, the short one. And I'm gonna get in between. You see, I stop and then went back in it, so the yellow kind of goes around it. It makes that believe. Let's do this again here. Let's see. I'm gonna intermitate like here. You see. hopefully I'll go over some of them to make them darker. See, now we have 7 stems for the flower. Um, okay, let's see. Now I might do the petals. Give it some more time to dry. So here's a leaf. You see, it's gonna be full of leaves. So maybe 3 here, and then you make sure put the sometimes around the yellow. You let the yellow shine. Don't put it over some of the lines in the yellow. Like you see, I mean, making intermittent. Um, but when you do the leaf, don't worry going over the stem. The stem that's there should not stop you. Let's see. Look at all these different leaves joining each other. Some are lighter, some are maybe larger, yeah, darker. But don't stop making them because there are leaves already there, right? You need to make them according to the proportions of the space. Sorry. So then, if there should be many leaves, there should be many leaves. See that? Remember, water is going to make your paint flow a little better. Maybe concentrate on one of the stems and then do the others. Then that way you don't get confused. Right now I'm doing this one. Now I'll move to the little one. Now I move. You see these two don't have leaves yet. So why don't we do this one? See? Okay. See how I'm interjecting between the yellow of the light on the flower? See? Some green goes by here. All right, now let's do this two, all the way to down. Let me finish this one. And now we start those two. And just concentrate on this one here to the left. Now the right, sorry, the stem to the right. No. You know, the yellow halo going around is just an effect, and it's gonna make more sense when the paper is not white. So we're gonna give a little green, very light yellow green background wash, very light. So then the yellow kind of fits in, mixes with that. But besides the effect, it was the idea that we make sure that that circle at first where we were gonna put the flower and we highlighted. Um, you place that circle at the points for the um, rule of thirds, if that makes sense. You know how we make the circle. Okay. When I do the petals, I'm gonna do them now very quickly. I'm gonna choose. Actually, I'll leave this brush alone since it has green. If you have two brushes, you could skip cleaning one right away if you're gonna use a color similar to that. I'm gonna do the petals now, kind of like blue. Okay. I almost have no blue, but I make sure my blues are light, some are dark, you know. We'll see. Here I did one. Be gentle with your brush. Use the tip if you can only use the tip. You can always go back if you need something darker and go over again with that same color after you do light to kind of differentiate the different tones. You see, so this is not that diverse in tones. So I'm going to go back later and make some of them darker. See how this one is darker here. So I could go back and choose which one look to make dark. Maybe this one is also dark. And that gives it a little more variety rather than the same tone on all of the petals. This is very dark. Maybe there's a very dark one here too, down here. So I'm starting with the dark. Usually when you put your brush down first, that contains a lot of pigment and water. So it's going to be probably dark unless you spread it. You consciously with your brush spread that around. Always start building from light to darker. See? Lightly, gentle. I'm going to go back again. If many of these petals look kind of like the same tone, we're going to go back with dark blue. With more pigment. Same blue, but more pigment. Less transparency to make them darker. And then we'll finish with the wash of the background to get rid of the white paper. And that will be it. So even though it's a painting, the point was to highlight where you more likely should position things. You don't have to, but if you position them in these areas according to the proportion of the paper, you follow the rule of thirds, you more likely will succeed in composition and make things more appealing and more balanced. You know? So these are very light. Again, we're gonna go back, I said, and maybe go back a couple of times. Maybe some of them are darker, but a couple of them will be really dark blue. So now I go back, but this time I make sure to grab a lot of pigment, you see? And then make some petals look darker. That's very dark. Especially the center, you could make the center darker, the center of the flower. Meaning right, there's stuff coming out of there. You see how they're different tones? I'm making it drastic so you could see it in the camera, but it doesn't have to be that drastic. The difference in tones. Here you go. Okay, this petal, maybe we need to clean it a little. It was too dark, this one. And now with very dark blue, the center I told you to emphasize. I'm making like excess stars right in the middle. See? Perfect. Now clean my brush. Oops. The green one, very light green with the yellow. I create light green because I mix it with the yellow, you see. And here you have to be careful because you put a little bit of pigment, but you got to put a little bit of more, sorry, a lot more water to diffuse that, to spread it. So it doesn't become just that pigment, you see. A little bit of pigment, but water. Make sure not to touch the petals, okay? Try not to touch the petals of the flowers, because then you. But you see how with the water, I'm kind of making sure that it's light, that it becomes very transparent and very light, just where the white of the paper is. You know, it doesn't have to be through every single crevice and hole, but just the main spot. But you do need that water because the water is what's softens it. You see. Okay. Okay. I think I'm good. I'm taking from the brush that has most of the water a little bit of pigment to spread it around. But the water dries and you need to get more. You see how the paper now is not white? I wish you could see it in person, looks better. The paper is obviously less white because it has now light green. Sign it and we're done. I'm going to show you that where things are located according to the rule of thirds. It's still wet, so this signature is gonna come out very diffuse. But I have to go back over it once it dries. Okay, so this is it. And even if you see, I'm gonna set it up on the table. But even if you see, let me clear this so it looks better. Even if you see just flowers, right? The idea is that they are located in strategic points, just like you will do people, things, a group of people portrait, maybe um, things, a table set up. Right, these were at the dots. These were exactly at the these three were at the point where the lines converge. Remember, that's there was a line right here. There's another line up here. This one went through. So these three. And then this one was in this square, this one was in this square, this was one in this square above, and this one was in this square at the bottom. So when you kind of think about it, then you see it, but you should not, it shouldn't be something that you have to consciously um, think about or see. The whole point is that it's unconscious. Okay, that's it for today. Enjoy, get your flowers going, and now use this rule for anything you do. I'll see you next time. Stay safe.